The black air of the cells beneath the red keep tasted of stone rot and the salt of old tears. Ned Stark had learned its contours well these past days. The drip that plinked from some cracked cistern overhead, the shuffle of rats that found more crumbs here than any honest man, the musty exhalations of centuries. They were quiet companions, yet even they spoke more plainly than the whisper-mouthed courtiers above. Ned's beard had grown out into a gray-flecked thicket. Sweat and grime crusted the strands, and his wrists were swollen where chains rubbed raw. But in the dim torch glow of the corridor, he sat upright against the wall, back straight as any lord in a hall of banners. For the habit of Winterfell would not abandon him. But falls, soft as the bookseller's page, measured as a maester counting heartbeats. Varys glided into view beyond the bars, lantern raised. His scented silks were gone. Tonight he wore plain gray, as muted as cobwebs. "Lord Eddard," he breathed, voice lilting with regret that sounded almost true. "I come with another offer." Ned pushed himself to stand. Pain stiffened every joint, yet dignity eased him upright. "If it be another parchment demanding that I name the bastard of Dragonstone a usurper, you waste your candles." "No parchment." The eunuch slipped a ring of keys from his sleeve. "A path instead. Confess your treason, bend the knee, and the boy king will grant mercy. The wall waits for men of honor." Ned laughed, the sound rasping out, more iron than mirth. "Mercy served with lies tastes like rust. I named Joffrey a bastard because truth demanded it. Should I choke on falsehood now to live a longer?" Varys sighed. "Truth is a sword without sheath here, my lord. The court bleeds or sharpens itself upon it." He leaned close, whisper thin. "But there is another blade you might wield. Demand trial by combat. A man of your birth may claim it, and the king must grant it." "Combat?" Ned's brows furrowed. "My sword arm is not what it was. I have no loyal knights in these dungeons to wear my favor. The gods need only one champion." Varys' eyes glittered like wet black pearls. "And I have heard Sir Barristan Selmy regrets his dismissal. The small folk already murmur that his honor was sold for golden lions. Give him a cause to reclaim his name, and perhaps he will answer." "Menderwundawan." A spark flared in Ned's chest. Not hope exactly, but something keen enough to cut the chains of despair. He thought of Robb riding south with the banners of the direwolf, of Sansa weeping in the queen's shadow, of Arya lost somewhere between palace walls and city gutters, of Winterfell's hearth left without its lord. "If I claim trial by combat," he said slowly, "will the boy king play by those same rules?" "The boy may wish to, yet the queen and her father hold his quill." Varys pressed a hand to the bars. "Still, the law is ancient and woven through custom thicker than Lannister gold. Refusal would stain even Tywin's pride. Ask, and they must answer." Ned closed his eyes. In darkness he saw snow on broken headstones, the promise he'd made to Lyanna in a bed of blood, and fading blue roses. He felt the weight of a sword that belonged to a brother he could never claim, a king he had served with honest heart. Robert was gone, but the realm still needed truth. The North still needed its father. To wield that sword now, he must grip the hilt himself. "Very well," he whispered. "I will demand it." The next morning dawned with a sweltering sun that mocked winter words. Ned was led in chains through the serpentine passages of the Red Keep, past columns carved into twisting dragons and frescoes, where Targaryen conquerors rode storms of fire. The great marble lions at the door to the throne room stared with gilded eyes as if reading the measure of every soul that crossed between them. Inside, the Iron Throne crouched upon its dais like a beast wrought of blades, taller and more terrible in daylight than by torch. Joffrey Baratheon, no, Joffrey Lannister by blood, sat upon its teeth, legs too small to fill the space. Cersei lounged at his elbow, her green gaze flicking over Ned with coiled satisfaction. The small council flanked them in uneasy rows. Grand Maester Pycelle nodding like a harvest crow drunk on rot, Petyr Baelish smirking behind lace-gloved fingers, Lord Janos Slint armored in the arrogance of his new title. Sandor Clegane leaned on a two-hander taller than many men. scarred face unreadable beneath its molten ruin. Only one among them watched Ned with open sorrow. Sir Barristan Selmy, white cloak draped immaculate but heavy as lead. The herald called names and titles, voice echoing across pillars. Ned waited through it all, breathing slow. When the question of guilt was voiced, he lifted his chin. "I demand trial by combat," he said, each syllable clear. "By the old gods and the new, let my fate be judged at sword's edge." Shock rippled across the hall. Mummer's whispers rose, quashed and rose again. Pycelle's bushy brows jumped, Littlefinger's smile twitched, Cersei's lips parted, a viper tasting air. Joffrey slapped an arm of the throne with short fingers. "The traitor has no right," he cried, but his voice cracked, and in the reverberant hush it sounded like a child's petulance. Sir Barristan stepped forward, white armor shining. "Your Grace," he said gently, "even traitors retain certain rights. Lord Eddard's demand is lawful." Cersei's eyes hardened to jade stone. Tywin Lannister, returned but standing behind the throne with none but his presence needed, inclined his head minutely. "Then the crown must choose its own champion," he said, voice as calm as crossbow bolts sliding home. "And Lord Stark must name his." Ned swallowed. His bones ached, but his spirit stood tall. "I will champion myself." A stir of admiration fluttered among the gathered nobles. Some honest, others feigning, but Cersei laughed. "A chained wolf hobbles," she said. "You'll die on your feet, Eddard. Better to kneel and keep your head." "Better to fight for truth," Ned answered. "Truth is all any man leaves behind." Tywin's smile never touched his eyes. "So be it. The crown's champion shall be Sir Sandor Clegane." A hush turned sharper. The hound lifted his sword, letting torchlight crawl along the steel. He flexed his maimed hand, mouth twisting. "I'll make it quick," he muttered. Ned nodded once. "I ask only a single favor. Release my right hand from these irons so I might grip ice." There was no ice here. The greatsword lay elsewhere, stripped like his honor. But the plea itself struck Barristan like a gauntlet. "Your Grace," he called, turning to Joffrey. "Lord Stark is no common criminal dragged from the black cells. Grant him proper arms." Joffrey glanced to his mother. For a heartbeat, something like fear flickered in his eyes. Then he shrugged. "Fine. Give him any sword he likes. The outcome is the same." Barristan crossed the floor, drew his own blade, and offered the hilt to Ned. "Take mine," he said quietly. "A true blade for a true man." Ned accepted. The weight felt right, Varian steel, etched with 7-pointed stars, balanced to a whisper. Chains were struck from one wrist, enough that he could swing though not flee. He flexed numbed fingers until feeling burned back. "Thank you," he murmured. "Whatever comes of this, know I will speak of your honor to every god who'll listen." They led fighters to the dragon pit, for the throne room's narrow aisles would not hold a wolf and a hound unleashed. Crowds surged along streets to watch. Gold cloaks, guildsmen in half-done leather aprons, fishwives, sellswords, silent sisters, children clutching crusts. Rumor had raced faster than ravens. The hand of the late king would fight a dog for his life, for the North, for his name. The arena's crumbled arches threw half-circles of shadow across sand hot enough to blister. At its heart, Ned Stark and Sandor Clegane faced one another, armor clanking like war drums. Ned wore plain ringmail borrowed from a guard, ill-fitting but serviceable. The hound wore burned steel scored with black dogs. His sword looked like a butcher's cleaver, stretched to knightly length. A horn sounded. Silence fell so sudden distant gulls became the loudest thing. Sandor advanced first, boots grinding. His blade hissed a sideways sweep, meant to test. Ned shuffled back, raising Barristan's sword in a two-hand grip. He felt every year upon him but also every lesson. The yard calls at Winterfell. The cold mouths of northern winds that taught a man to measure breath. Clegane swung again. Higher, heavier. Ned parried. Sparks snapping. Pain flared along his shoulder where old bruises tugged, but he held. They circled. Sandor snarled curses about traitors and wolves. Ned answered, with nothing but calm. Each clash hammered sound up stone vaults, each breath stirred dust and memory. The hound pressed, hacking like the name he bore. Ned yielded step by step, until his boots found the firmness of stubborn earth beneath loose sand. He planted. On Sandor's next overhand, Smatch slipped aside and struck. A flat-edged cut across the dog-head helm. Metal rang. The hound staggered, more fury than hurt, swiping blind. Ned did not chase. He let the younger man's rage spill into rhythm, reading it the way a ranger reads snowfall patterns. Twice more. Sandor bull rushed, and twice Ned's blade met his, turning aside, redirecting force until the hound's own weight fought him. Sweat ran into Ned's eyes. He blinked salt. Muscles thrummed like bowstrings. A misstep would be the last. On the fourth charge, Ned feinted high, then rolled his wrists low. Barristan's blade bit chain below Clegane's elbow where mail parted for mobility. Blood leapt dark. Sandor roared. He hammered strikes as if splitting shields. Ned blocked each, but arms went numb. He stumbled, knee half bent. For a heartbeat every voice in the dragon pit sucked breath. Sandor lifted his sword for a killing blow. Sunfire glared off its edge, and Ned, blinking into that brightness, remembered winter storms so fierce they blinded, and how a Stark learned to feel the world by sound instead of sight. He heard the hiss of steel descending, felt the shift of weight in sand beneath boots. At the last instant he dove inward, under the arc. Barristan's sword lanced up beneath Clegane's guard, seeking the gap at the armpit. Leather tore. Ring snapped. Ned's blade punched through flesh with a wet rip, lodged between ribs. Sandor choked, weapon falling from ruined fingers. He sank to one knee, breath bubbling crimson. Ned withdrew, eyes wide, with pity more than triumph. The hound tried to snarl, but blood foamed. He toppled sideways, armor sending a dull gong into the roar rising from stones and throats alike. Silence broke into chaos. Some shouted Stark, Stark, while others cried for the crown. Gold cloaks rushed the floor, unsure whom to guard. Ned stood over Sandor's body, chest heaving. He felt older than the wall, yet alive. He turned toward the royal box where Joffrey and Cersei sat grim as carved idols. "I'm proven innocent," Ned called, voice thundering. "By the gods' own judgment." Cersei's face whitened. Tywin's lid twitched. Barristan stepped up, helm beneath one arm. "It is so," he proclaimed. "Trial by combat has spoken." Joffrey leapt to his feet. "But he confessed treason." "He confessed nothing," Barristan replied. "He named truth. Now the gods have named him clean." Whispers surged like a tide reclaiming sand. Even Lannister guards looked one to another, uncertain. Ned lowered his sword, planting point into earth. "I claim my freedom," he said. "And as Lord of Winterfell, I demand safe release of my daughters." The queen's lips thinned to scarlet thread, but Tywin raised a staying hand. "The girl Sansa is betrothed to a king," he said. "Yet an honorable king would not keep hostage the child of a loyal lord." Joffrey gulped, cheeks blotched. "Let her go," he spat. "The wolf bitch whines too much anyway." "And Arya?" Ned asked. Littlefinger emerged, offering a shallow bow. "Alas, my lord, the younger girl slipped from custody some days past." His eyes glittered sly as coins. "But I will personally lead the search." Ned met his gaze, reading the half-truths swimming there. "See, she is found unharmed," he said. "The North does not forget." That night, beneath galleries hung with faded dragon banners, Ned Stark knelt beside Sandor Clegane's body. The hound yet breathed, shallow and rattling. Maesters had staunched the worst, but fever burned bright. Ned held a cup of poppy milk to cracked lips. "Drink," he murmured. "You fought with honor." Sandor's one good eye opened a slit. "Honor," he rasped. "Bugger, honor." He coughed, shuddering. "Blood spattered linen. You spared me when you could have finished it. Why? Because a man's life is weighty, Ned said. And killing you would not bring justice, only more dead. A humorless grin split the burnt face. Northman's folly. World runs on dead. Yet he drank. When he slept, Ned left a guard with strict orders. No harm to fall upon the hound, prisoner though he now was. Word of the combat flashed through the city like wildfire, igniting tavern talk and noble councils alike. Some hailed Ned as a hero of the gods, others muttered that Lannisters had lost their grip. Still others feared what message the North would draw from a victorious but captive wolf lord. The small council convened in the Tower of the Hand, Ned's own chambers reclaimed after a token ceremony of reinstatement. He sat at the table's head, freshly bathed, hair combed though gray threaded dark. Across from him, Barristan Selmy stood sentinel, now restored to the king's guard, by order of a shamed yet cowed king. Varys drifted near a lattice window, studying city lights. Pycelle clutched scrolls whose wax had not cooled, and Baelish drummed fingers on polished oak. My lords, Ned began, voice measured, peace is a knife's edge. Robb marches south with 30,000 Northmen. Lord Tywin sits at Harrenhal with near equal host. The riverlands burn. We must douse these flames before they feast on every house. Baelish smiled. Easier to milk a dragon, my lord. The boy kings war for thrones unseen. The wolf and lion shall tear flesh till only bones gleam. Unless the pack and pride speak first, Ned answered. I will send envoys to Robb, to remind him his father lives and begs parley, and Tywin must be pressed. Pressed? Pycelle wheezed. Lord Tywin commands more coin than the Iron Bank, more swords than the Reach will muster until harvest. He will not yield to please. Barristan rested gauntleted hands upon the table. Nor shall we yield the realm to ruin. Lord Stark's victory binds us to oaths. The king must honor them, or be forsworn before half the realm. A hush. Ned saw the truth in their faces. Joffrey's legitimacy had always been a paper shield. Now even that parchment frayed. Yet open accusation would shatter peace. He would not draw that blade until the realm could bear it. For now he wielded a quieter weapon, presence. Begin with mercy, Ned said. Order the city gates barred against pillage, but open to refugees fleeing Lannister riders. Feed them from royal stores. Let the small folk see a Stark hand steadies the crown. Littlefinger. Spread palms. Compassion is costly. So is rebellion, Ned replied. But compassion buys loyalty cheap. He rose. Sleep tugged beneath his eyes, yet toil awaited. Letters must be penned, ravens sent. Scouts dispatched to trail Arya's last known steps. Above all, Sansa must be reclaimed from the velvet snares of court. The game's rules had changed, yet still men and women were pieces upon it. Ned resolved they would not all be sacrificed. 3 days later, the great square before the sept of Baelor filled with banners. The direwolf of Stark, the lion of Lannister, the crowned stag still painted upon shields, though many now wondered if those antlers were hollow. Sun beat down on silken canopies, where noble ladies whispered behind fans. Small folk pressed close, eager for spectacle, but wary of crossbowmen posted along roofs. Ned stood on the sept steps, flanked by Barristan and a pair of black-cloaked knights, watch brothers come south with a fresh plea for men. His leg twinged, yet he held posture carved of winter granite. Joffrey descended from a litter, Cersei at his side. Tywin followed, armored in red steel that drank sunlight. Trumpets shrilled. The great septon waddled forward, droning blessings neither gods nor men cared heed. When silence at last settled, Ned stepped forward. People of King's Landing, he called, voice echoing off marble saints. By trial of the gods I stand exonerated. Yet wounds remain, between houses, between hearts. I propose a peace. The North will remain in King's Landing for now, not as conqueror nor captive, but as counsel. The young king shall keep his throne while truth is sought upon questions of birth and blood. No sword shall march while inquiry endure. A murmur like leaves in autumn winds rippled the crowd. Tywin's jaw clenched, but he held tongue. Joffrey blinked, glancing sidelong at his mother. Finally he nodded, small chin jutting. "Let it be so," he declared, though the words came brittle. Ned bowed. "Then as first token of faith, I ask my daughter Sansa be returned to her father's care." Cersei's nails bit her palm. Yet with thousands watching she could not refuse without baring fangs too soon. She beckoned, and Sansa stepped forward in pale blue, eyes wide. Ned's heart twisted at the sight, guilt and relief braided tight. He knelt, arms open. Sansa flew to him, sobbing. The crowd cheered, not for wolves or lions, but for blood made whole. Night settled warm over battlements. In the godswood transplanted from northern soil, Ned knelt beneath the red-leaved heart tree, whose face was carved not by children of the forest, but by craftsmen paid in southern coin. The pool beneath reflected torchlights, turning them to distant stars. Sansa slept safely within chambers nearby, wards posted. Yet Arya remained out there, a shadow beyond reach. Ned prayed. He prayed to old gods who whispered through bark, to new gods carved in stone, to nameless spirits of howl and hearth. He prayed his victory would not prove hollow, that winter's specter haunting his dreams would not devour everything he loved. Footsteps touched moss. Catelyn's voice, weary yet brave, spoke his name. She had arrived that dusk with a retinue of river lords who bled from Lannister raids. Ned rose and took her hands. In her eyes he read months of fear, journeys hard, the weight of sons and daughters on her shoulders. Words failed them, instead they held each other while the weirwood watched with blind red eyes. At last Cat drew back. "Robb encamps near the Trident," she said. "He rides hard upon rumors. When he hears of your release, he will halt, but only if he trusts this peace." Ned exhaled. "Tomorrow, I will send Maester Luwin's swiftest raven, and I will go myself to Parley with Tywin Lannister under banner of truce." "Alone?" "With guards but no host." Ned looked northward though walls blocked view. "Mind. If we show will for peace without the shield of armies, perhaps the lion will sheath claws long enough to listen. And if he does not, then winter falls on us all." Cat touched his cheek. "Take me with you." He nodded, for her resolve matched any sword. Beyond the Trident, dusk painted water red and gold. Tywin Lannister's pavilion gleamed like a blood-bright jewel amid ranks of crimson tents. Ned rode through silent files of lion banners, white flag raised. Behind him came Catelyn, Barristan, and a handful of guards. The hush that followed them felt less like fear, more like the pause of a beast measuring prey. In the pavilion Tywin sat at a war table strewn with markers: wolf, trout, lion, kraken. His pale hair shone where lamplight struck it. His eyes were twin golden coins hammered flat. He did not rise when Ned entered. "I come in peace," Ned stated. "The gods judge my innocence. Let us end this war before it stains every river red." Tywin's lip curled. "You speak of innocence while brandishing treason. Yet your boldness intrigues me." "Sit." They talked. Hours wore thin. Tywin measured each concession like a jeweler weighing gems. He would not release Riverland's hostages without recompense. He demanded assurances of Sansa's marriage. He hinted that Robert's brothers plotted, and that only lion claws kept storm tides at bay. Ned argued, traded, promised. Peace proved a delicate tapestry. Every thread pulled threatened unravel. Still, by candles guttering the frame began to hold. A fortnight's truce, exchange of highborn wards, tribunals to investigate succession claims. A start. When Ned stood to leave, Tywin rose as well. "One final thing, Lord Stark," he said. "Should truth about the boy king's blood render him unfit, who would you seat upon the Iron Throne?" Ned met his gaze. "The one with the strongest claim." A stark answer, honest to dullness. Tywin's smile was thin. "Yet, remember this. Claims may rest on parchment, but crowns rest on swords and coin. I possess both in abundance." "Winter comes," Ned replied. "And winter takes all crowns alike." Tywin watched as Ned departed, expression unreadable. Back in King's Landing, truce banners rose. Lannister gold cloaks stood shoulder to shoulder with Stark guards atop walls. Small folk whispered that perhaps this time peace might hold. In brothels men wagered how long before lion ate wolf. In septs septons preached a new dawn of unity. Children played at being Ned the Brave or Sandor the Cursed, dueling with sticks in alleys once slick with offal. Grain prices fell. Bakeries reopened. Yet beneath surface calm, ripples spread. Stannis Baratheon gathered ships at Dragonstone, citing Ned's victory as sign from gods that bastardy must be purged from throne. Renly courted Reach lords, promising blooming summers under his banner. Across the sea, dragons stirred in whispers. And north of the wall, shadows lengthened while ravens flew south with eyes like night. In the Red Keep, Ned walked ramparts at dawn. The city stretched before him, rooftops glowing amber. Sansa practiced needlepoint under Septa Mordane's watch. Cat met with river lords. Robb's raven had arrived bearing vows of restraint. For one fleeting breath, Ned Stark believed the realm might see another spring unburned. But peace is a seed fragile in harsh soil. Only by careful tending would it root. Ned tightened his cloak against the morning and turned toward the council chambers. Barristan's sword at his hip, a reminder that though gods had spoken, men still must listen. Behind him the wind carried scents of sea and forge, of honey cake and horse dung, of life fueled by precarious hope. He quickened his stride. 5 hours of daylight already awaited, and winter was ever at his heels. A.K. Dawn bled pale rose across the high windows of the Tower of the Hand when Ned Stark left the council chamber and found Maester Luwin waiting beside a brazier. The old maester's face was drawn from nights without sleep. Raven scratches scored the backs of his hands. He pressed a sealed parchment into Ned's grasp. "Dot. From Robb," he said. "He writes that the river crossings are quiet. Lord Frey has accepted the truce. So far. So far." Ned cracked the wax. Gray stone stamped with a direwolf, and red while silent fires licked the coals. Robb's hand was firm, the letters tall and sparse the way his father had taught him. He pledged to hold at Moat Cailin until word of Arya reached him, and he offered hostages, young Sir Wendell Manderley, Sir Donal Locke, to prove the North's good faith. Yet between the lines Ned felt the tremor of impatience. Wolves leashed chafed raw.u. He folded the parchment carefully. "Send answer at once," he told Luwin. "Robb is to hold his ground. If Stannis moves, he must not join him. The North will defend its own, but will not break a fragile peace." Luwin bowed and withdrew, trailing rustle of gray robes. Ned lingered by the brazier, heat licking his palms. Every choice he made now strode a ridgeline thin as dawn ice. Fall one side and war consumed the realm. The other and truth collapsed beneath Lannister shadow. Ahead, a third path wound unseen. Tugged by prophecy whispered south from the wall. Maester Aemon's raven had come 2 nights ago bearing words of wildlings, massing, and dead men walking. Winter's teeth sharpened while knights bickered over crowns. Ned turned from the brazier and stepped into the corridor, flanked by 2 gray cloaks, Northmen who wore his colors and refused Lannister coin. Lamps guttered along damp stone. Servants pressed to walls, heads bowed. Outside a window slit the city woke. The all-septry bells called Compline. Fishermen shouted over nets. Armorers hammered bronze. He smelled sea brine and the first rot of hot weather. Beyond the stair he heard soft voices. Sansa stood with her mother at a balcony. The girl's copper hair bound in a cone of Myrish lace given by the queen, as an apology too perfumed to be sincere. Cat rested a calming hand on her daughter's shoulder, and pointed across rooftops toward the dragon pit where Ned had bled for their lives. Sansa nodded, but her eyes remained fixed on a rook wheeling overhead, black against sunrise. They had argued late. Sansa insisting her love for Joffrey was true, that once his anger cooled, he would recall his vows. Cat had tried to show her strands of silk the queen had woven around that hope, but hearts of 13 seldom yield to reason. Ned could do little but promise that truth would shine through lies when the gods willed it, and in the telling he feared he sounded like Maester Luwin soothing toddlers at Winterfell's hearth. He left them to their moment, and descended to the courtyard, where training lists stretched between two scowling gargoyles. Arya had lived for these lists once, dancing wooden swords against Fat Tom and Little Lommy. Now only ghosts sparred here. Yet as Ned watched, steel rang bright. Ser Barristan Selmy faced 3 gold cloak recruits in rotation, his white cloak swirling like winter spindrift. At 60, he moved with calm economy, turning every blow with a gentleness that made the watchers forget how lethal he was. Each time a recruit lunged too wide, his wrist flicked, sword tip tapping helm or gorget. Enough to bruise pride, teach craft. When the bout ended, Barristan dismissed the boys and beckoned Ned. They walked side by side across sunlit paving stones. "Your hand," Barristan said. "Does it pain you still?" "A dull ache." Ned flexed fingers. "The maesters say tendons swelled beneath the scar, but will heal." "And your heart?" Ned smiled wry. "That wound is deeper. I fear my heart may never mend until my children are safe." Barristan paused beneath a carved arch. "I have served many kings, my lord. I have seen victory that tasted of ash and defeat that blossomed into renewal. The realm turns on small hinges. When Robert slew Rhaegar on the trident, I thought the world ended with the prince's song. Yet life continued. Now you have won a duel few believed you could survive. Use this breathing space with boldness. The Lannisters are more men each day. Then you. What counsel would you give, if I ask as lord tonight? Find allies where lions cannot roar. The Reach grows restless under Lannister debt. The Dornish remember Aelia. And there are still those in the city who pray for dragons." He lowered his voice. "I have heard whispers that Daenerys Targaryen quickens with child in the east." Ned felt a chill despite the sun. "Another claimant. The realm has too many crowns already." "True," Barristan said. "Yet if winter and darkness march from beyond the wall, as the Black Brothers claim, perhaps all claimants will kneel before that cold throne." They parted with nods, each turning thoughts like bare blades. By mid-morning, Ned sat with Grand Maester Pycelle in a vaulted chamber littered with scrolls of lineage. Dust motes drifted through light that fell in fat columns. Pycelle coughed often, a wet bark, as he fussed at seals and sighed over each dog-eared treatise on Baratheon lines. "At your request," he wheezed, "I have compiled every record on the seat of House Baratheon these past 2 centuries. He tapped piles that rose like crooked towers. "You will find no break, only strong seed begetting strong seed. Coal-black hair, yes, yet still within the natural variance of Baratheon stock. And yet," Ned said, turning pages, "Joffrey has not a single dark strand, nor do Myrcella Tommen. The coincidence stretches past comfort." "Then?" Pycelle's beard quivered. "Traits may skip generations. 3 children, Grand Maester, all golden as Lannister lions." Ned opened a slim codex bound in cracked blue leather. "Here, lineages of House Estermont. Through Cassana. Note Robert's mother. Brown of hair, brown of eye. His father Stefan, black hair, blue eyes. Ignore for a moment the color. Count the pattern. Dominance of dark over light across 12. He slid the book forward. "Now show me where fair hair overcame dark in 3 successive siblings without outside admixture." Pycelle cleared his throat. Pages rustled. He found no example. "Genetics are mysteries of the gods," he muttered finally. "Even the gods leave footprints," Ned said. He stood. "Seal these scrolls. Tamper with nothing. I will have them copied." When Ned left the library, he found Varys perched on a bench beyond the arch, fingers steepled, face as bland as porridge. The eunuch rose. "An intriguing morning," Varys said. "Books breed such dangerous thoughts." Ned regarded him. "Thoughts become truth, Lord Varys, when the evidence stacks higher than fear." "Fear is a sturdy ladder," Varys replied. "Yet ladders can topple." He offered a thin smile. "I come bearing tidings that may interest you. Your daughter Arya was seen yesterday, near the Street of Silk, Blood thundered. By whom? A man whose coins prefer my pockets. He claimed she wielded a wooden sword and bested two cutpurses, who mistook her for easy prey. Varys' smile widened. Your daughter is quite the wolf. Where is she now? Ah, that is the riddle. She vanished into sewers. Varys folded hands. I can sniff her trail, but such hounds require silver. You'll have it. Bring her safe. And unharmed, Varys added, bowing. Ned strode away, boots quick upon stone. Hope battled dread. Arya was alive, fierce as ever, but the street of silk crawled with knives hired by gold or lust. Every hour lost risked her life. He summoned Jory's cousin Harwin, hardened from the Riverlands wars, and ordered a search of brothels, stables, ratways bead. Shall be wearing boys' rags, hair hacked short. Harwin nodded and dissolved into the bustle. That afternoon, the small council met again, without the king, who preferred archery lessons with Sir Meryn. Ned presided. Beside him sat Renly Baratheon, arrived 2 days prior in green velvet, smelling of rose oil and political ambition. Renly listened as Pycelle droned grain tallies, then leaned close to Ned. What this council needs is spirit, he whispered. The city starves for spectacle that does not end with heads on spikes. Renly smoothed his beard. Aye, tourney. Ned stiffened. Coins spent on lists and purses could feed half Flea Bottom. And entertain the other half, Renly countered. Hungry bellies forget to riot when eyes feast on knights. He smiled, dazzling. Besides, tourney fees line coffers when managed shrewdly. Pettier Bellish perked. I can arrange bookmakers, he said. A modest 10% cut to the crown. Ned sighed. I will consider it. In truth, he saw cunning behind the pageant. Knights lured to King's Landing watched by eyes loyal to the hand, not the queen. Strength disguised as revel. As Pycelle left, Sir Kevan Lannister entered, silver hair cropped neat. He bowed gravely. Lord Hand, a raven from Harrenhal, my brother requests immediate audience to discuss the terms you proposed. Ned gestured. I ride at dawn. His Grace advises caution, Kevan said. Roads between here and the Blackwater teem with broken men. Ned studied him. Is that concern or warning, sir? Both. The Lion prefers negotiation within sight of his claws. I will take the Kingsguard and 20 Northmen, Ned replied. That shall suffice. Kevan inclined his head. Then may the gods guide our houses to common ground. He left with mantle sweeping tile. Renly huffed. Tywin rarely concedes vantage. You unsettle him, Ned. I unsettle myself. Ned rubbed his brow. Every step deeper into this mire coats me in its stink. Then let us wade faster. Renly leaned back. Your truce holds the lion but rattles the stag. Stannis builds fleet and claim. Join me and half the realm will rise behind my banner. Reach, Stormlands, perhaps even the Vale. Seat me on that throne, and I shall name you protector for life. Then no. Ned gazed at Robert's youngest brother. Handsome, charming, yet untested by fire. Claim built on youngest sons invites chaos. Stannis is elder. Stannis inspires fear, not love. Renly spread arms. The people want a smiling king. Ned stood. The people want peace and bread. When I see which brother delivers both with honest heart, I will lend support. He turned to go. Until then, no wolves back stags against walls. Renly's expression cooled. Careful, Lord Hand. Neutral ground may sink beneath you. Now. Twilight slanted along the street of Flower when Arya Stark crouched atop a slate roof, gaze sharp as the needle no longer at her hip. The blade had broken 2 nights past against a sellsword's parry. She carried now a short dirk stolen from a drunken Bravusi. She tongued a chipped tooth where the sellsword's pommel had caught her lip and spat blood over the eaves. Below, Candlesea Alley pulsed with lamplight and whore-song. 2 gold cloaks paced outside Chataya's brothel, eyes scanning for a slip of a girl. Varys' whispers had traveled fast. Arya flattened against chimney bricks and slipped across shingles to a drainage hatch. Warm air stank of night soil, but tunnels beneath the street were her forest now. She climbed into darkness, boots splashing muck. Torchlight flickered far behind, maybe the gold cloaks, maybe worse. She padded silent, counting side passages the way Sirio Forel had taught. Left, right, left, like water dancing. Her breaths came even. Fear chained. Only target mattered. The Dragon Gate where she'd meet hot pie with a stolen loaf, and word that a boatmaster named Lomies would smuggle them upriver. North called like wolf song in her dreams. A rat scuttled over her boot, and she froze, listening. Water dripped. Then a scrape. Metal on stone somewhere ahead. She slipped into a niche behind barrel staves, and watched two shapes appear, lantern held low. One was thin, wearing a sand-colored cloak, with a lantern that swung in long arcs. The other moved like a shadow, broad-shouldered, limping slightly. Even in gloom she saw a glint, hair like spun gold. Lannister. Arya shrank back, heart hammering. The thin man murmured, "We're near the cellar. The spiders leave their webs soon." "Now," the golden-haired man grunted. "We drop the piglets, then ride. Your master will see the city bled or burning, no matter which." Arya pressed fist to mouth. "Piglets?" She edged closer, bare feet silent on slime. The lantern swung, revealing burlap sacks piled in a recess. Something inside writhed, squealing. Piglets indeed, though when the thin man prodded one sack, a human moan leaked. "Shut up," he hissed, striking the sack with a sap. "You'll sing soon enough." Arya's stomach twisted. Sackcloth parted to show a boy's face, no older than Bran, gagged, cheeks wet. Two more bundles shifted. Children. Rage flared hot. She scanned. To her right, an arrow slit high in the tunnel wall. Overhead, broken grating. She gripped the dirk. Footsteps behind startled her. She darted into side channel just as another pair approached from rear. Voices. "Light the barrels by Maegor's Holdfast tonight. Dragonfire will rise pretty." Laughs. Arya's mind raced. Children for hostages or blame. Sacks of piglets squeal to mask their cries. Whoever planned this meant to set the city aflame, painted in Stark or Baratheon guilt. She cursed softly. She could flee and live, or try to stop them. She thought of Nymeria lost in trident reeds, of father chained, of Sansa weeping. Arya Snow, Gendry had teased once, but she was Arya Stark and Wolves Bite. She slid deeper into tunnel, seeking vantage. Above, in the Red Keep, Ned Stark busied scribes with copies of ledgers detailing Baratheon lineage. As ink dried, Harwin returned breathless. Face streaked with soot. "Found trail, m'lord," he panted. Girl seen darting into sewer mouth by cobbler's wind. Ned grabbed cloak. "Show me." They rode through torchlit streets, gray cloaks trotting at flank. The city's pulse changed at night. Smoke lingered from tanner fires, minstrels wailed, drunks cursed. At cobbler's wind Harwin reined in before an iron grate torn half from its frame. She slipped inside. Harwin said, "Dog boy Hot Pie claims she's heading to Dragon Gate." Ned dismounted, passing reins. "Wait here," he told guards. "I go." Harwin protested, but Ned lowered brow. "My daughter is lost in that warren. I will not send others where I will not tread." He drew Barristan's sword and ducked into stench. Tunnel swallowed him. He followed scrape marks and filth, listening for trickle of water that might mask distant voices. Twice he paused, feeling walls for secret doors once mapped by his namesake Brandon the Builder. But the Red Keep's foundations were a labyrinth Targaryens themselves feared. Deeper, he smelled something acrid. Pitch. Soon the faint crackle of torch. He snuffed his lantern and crept toward light. Voices echoed. "Dragons burned Harrenhal," a man said. "Tonight we burn the lion's nest." Ned edged a corner and saw 5 figures arrayed by barrels labeled with Lannister Lion and Wildflower sigil of House Tyrell. 2 children lay bound nearby, mewling behind gags. A plot to frame multiple houses. His pulse roared. He stepped out, sword high. Lay down your arms. The men spun. Surprise gave him half heartbeat. He lunged at nearest, thin-cloaked man, and slashed thigh. Blood burst. Others drew blades. Steel clanged. Ned parried thrust, countered with slice across collarbone. Second man fell, gurgling. Yet third circled behind. Ned pivoted, too slow. Blade scraped his hauberk, scoring flesh beneath. Pain burned. Then a sharp whistle, and a shadow dropped from above. Arya slammed into the third man, dirk flashing. She buried it in his neck, twisting. Hot blood sprayed her cheek. She rolled clear as man collapsed. "Father!" she cried, eyes wide with fear and ferocity. "Stay back!" Ned shouted, blocking fourth attacker's axe. He riposted. Hacking tendon. Man staggered. Ned kicked him into sludge. Last thug fled toward ladder. Arya snatched fallen knife. Flung it. Sirio's lesson. It struck base of spine. Man screamed, tumbled. Silence after, broken only by sobs of children. Ned breathed deep. Arya shook, fists bloodied. He knelt, gripping her shoulders. "You're hurt?" She shook head. Tears welled, but did not fall. "I lost needle." She whispered, "We'll make another." He pulled her close and held her until tremors eased. Then together they freed the captives. Orphans stolen from Flea Bottom, they said, and doused fuses with sewer water. Arya insisted on searching sacks, found vials of wildfire meant to ignite barrels. Ned cursed softly. "Someone seeks to brand us all kinslayers." He gathered evidence, vials, cloth, sigils. At tunnel mouth guards stared in alarm as Ned and daughter emerged, soaked in sludge, dragging prisoners. Harwin's oath lights danced in his eyes. "Summon Lord Commander Selmy," Ned ordered. "And Sir Kevin. Let lions answer how wildfire bearing their seal lay hidden below." As guards dispersed, Arya gazed up. "I killed a man," she said, voice small. Ned knelt. "You saved lives. The gods know." "I'm not sorry," she murmured. "He would have burned children." Ned stroked her hair. "Then hold that truth. But never grow eager for killing." "Then?" She nodded, though he saw a steel in her gray eyes reminiscent of Lyanna's tempestuous soul. Midnight Council convened in the throne room's shadow, torches painting blade throne with embers. Cersei arrived clad in crimson silk, flanked by Sandor Clegane on crutch, wound-bound but alive. Tywin entered last, armor polished like sunset. On dais Joffrey sulked, crown askew. Ned presented barrels, vials, bound prisoners. These conspirators sought to ignite wildfire beneath the Red Keep and lay blame upon House Lannister and Tyrell both. Tywin examined sigils. "Face granite. Forgeries," he said. "Yet skilled." Pycelle sniffed vials. "Wildfire eye from the alchemist's guild." Cersei's gaze darted to Varys perched near column. "Whispers point to many rats," she said. Ned turned to prisoners. "Speak. Who hired you?" The thin man, leg-bound, spat blood. "The spider," he groaned. "A man they call Weeper," said coin came from east, from a queen with dragons. Gasps rippled. Varys lifted brows. "I know no Weeper." Ned eyed him. "Perhaps he knows you." He motioned guards. "Interrogate in cells. Truth root grows deeper." After prisoners were moved, Cersei massaged temples. "The safer path is to scour the sewers and burn nests." Ned nodded. "I have men mapping tunnels. Yet root of rot is here. Fear, mistrust." He faced Joffrey. "Your Grace, permit me to form a watch beneath the keep. Northmen and city watch together." To patrol passages. Joffrey shrugged. Do as you like. Tywin watched Ned with slitted eyes. You win much leeway in short time, Lord Stark. I seek safety for king and realm. And yet each step strengthens your own hand. Tywin's mouth twitched. A lion forgets no slight. Nor does a wolf. Ned bowed stiffly. 4 days passed. Arya recovered behind walls, though she chafed under guard. Ned tasked Syrio Forel, found languishing in a cell after slaying Lannister guards during Arya's flight, with her tutelage anew. Cersei objected, but Barristan vouched for Syrio's honor. The queen yielded. Meanwhile, Tywin agreed to meet near Maidenpool. Ned rode again with small escort. Collateral for peace. Ned would bring Sansa and Arya to prove goodwill. Tywin brought Myrcella and Tommen. Children traded as wards until inquiry on succession closed. Catelyn rode with them. Heart heavy. At the head of column, wickered gray stallion carrying Barristan. Behind clattered wagons of grain promised to riverlands. Thunderheads gathered overhead, omen of summer storm. They crossed Blackwater Rush at Stone Bridge. Halfway, arrow hissed, embedding in plank before Ned's horse. More followed. From riverbanks, cloaked forms loosed shafts. Shields raised. Horses screamed. Ned wheeled, pulling Sansa's reins, but the girls were already guided by Cat toward Center Arch. Ambush. Gray cloaks formed ring. Barristan shouted orders. Ned spied attacker's sigil, yellow sun over spear. Dornish. Protect the children, he roared. Bolts clattered. A spear hurtled, skewering guard. Ned saw through smoke of burnt pitch. Knight in orange steel urging men. Prince Oberyn Martell. Viper strikes for vengeance, a voice whispered. Elia. Oberyn twirled spear, shouting. Give me the lion cubs, he cried. Justice for my sister. Ned answered. Prince, the cubs ride with Lord Tywin, not I. Stand down. Oberyn's dark eyes blazed. Then you are shield to lions. Their roar shall not drown our tears. Arrows rained. Barristan charged, white cloak billowing. Ned spurred forward, blocking volley with shield. He called. Oberyn, war will ignite again. A trial looms to prove bastardy. Elias' children's deaths will be avenged in truth. Oberyn hesitated. Rain began. Fat drops hissing on steel. He lowered spear tip. Swear it, he said. That lion spawn shall not escape. I swear by the old gods and the new, Ned declared. Proof will speak, and when word is law, judgment falls. Wind whipped cloaks. Oberyn signaled. Dornish bowed and melted into reeds. Barristan reined up, visor dripping rain. A respite only, he warned. Ned nodded. We ride. At Maidenpool Hill, Tywin's pavilion glowed candlelight. Ned entered soaked cloak shedding water. Opposite, Tywin awaited with Sir Kevin. Tommen yawning in nurse's lap. Myrcella sat reading a septon's tales. Tywin gestured to cushions. No daughters. Ambushed, Ned said. Prince Oberyn. Alive, safe, but returned to keep. Tywin's brows arched. The viper roams far from his desert. Vengeance knows no border. Ned removed parchment. I propose acceleration. The High Septon shall hear evidence of Joffrey's parentage within fortnight. You and I each present proof. The gods judge. Tywin's face revealed nothing. If the Septon rules against my grandson, what becomes of Casterly Rock's honor? Honor stands by truth. Ned folded hands. Let the boy live a lord if unseated. Let realms choose next king by line of steam, unsullied. Now. Unsullied. Tywin repeated, voice soft. Tell me, Lord Stark, if Joffrey is unseated, whose line holds surest claim? Stannis is eldest of Robert's brothers. Ned met eyes. Stannis, Tywin mused. A rigid man. Inflexible policy snaps kingdoms. He lifted cup. I will discuss with council, but know this. Lannisters do not yield for sermons. They yield to swords, Ned said, or to winters that starve even gold. Tywin drank, eyes sharp. We shall see which frost bites deeper. As Ned rode back toward King's Landing beneath clearing skies, a raven caught him before Rosby. Black parchment bound in crimson thread. Lord Eddard Stark. Dragonstone sails. Stannis declares himself true king. Banners the crowned stag aflame with red heart. Ships mass at Blackwater Bay within 10 days. Prepare. Ser Davos Seaworth. Ned crumpled letter against gauntlet. Peace tottered. He looked west where sun sank copper. Somewhere, Renly mustered Tyrell roses, and across narrow sea dragons stirred. He spurred his horse, cloak snapping like a direwolf's tail in wind. 5 hours of daylight lingered, and he would race them home. Far ahead, walls of the Red Keep caught last light, blades of the Iron Throne glinting atop, and in their shadow a kingdom wept, waiting to learn whether wolf or lion would answer its cry, or whether something colder stalked the silent night beyond memory of crowns. K. Rain streaked, slanted across Ned Stark's cloak, as the column wound through the King's Gate at dusk, hooves splashing murky puddles that mirrored a sky the color of tempered steel. The capital gathered the scent of fear, the way stable straw gathered ammonia. Torchbearers flanked the street, their flames guttering in cold wind off Blackwater Bay. Behind shuttered windows, small folk watched through finger-wide cracks. Rumor had galloped faster than any messenger. Stannis Baratheon's fleet had passed Driftmark and would stand in the river mouth within a turning of the moon. War. The city whispered. Had simply paused to draw breath before screaming again. Ned dismounted in the outer yard, joints aching from long hours astride. Grey cloaks fanned outward, escorting wagons of grain toward storage vaults. Ser Barristan dismounted with the ease of a man half his age, but he paused to brace a gauntleted hand on the saddle before rolling his shoulder. Pain trickled through even that iron discipline. Catelyn swung down beside Ned, cheeks raw from coastal wind, auburn hair sodden. She met his eyes with silent understanding. The fragile truce balanced on spider silk strands, and a single breath of fire from Stannis' galleys might snap every tie. They had crossed 3 bridges of bone-white stone along the Roserad, each time pausing when riders bearing false banners appeared then vanished among sycamores. Twice, Ned's outriders found corpses, Lannister men and Stark men stripped naked, sigils swapped between them, throats cut, a single black coin left on each chest. Varys' mocking signature, the coin minted in Bravos, stamped with Lagoon Skull. The spider was playing deeper games than any council suspected. Ned intended to dig him out root and egg, but first, the court must not fracture under sword edge. Inside the Red Keep the air tasted of incense and the tang of iron. Guards bowed. Tywin's lions eyed the returning wolf with faces as closed as their helms. Sansa waited in the gallery leading to Ned's chambers, Arya at her side. Sansa's sigh of relief when she saw her father was soft as falling snow, yet the release of tension in her shoulders pricked Ned's heart. Arya, scabbed knuckles hidden behind her back, tried for a smirk but could not mask wet shine at her lashes. "You said 2 days," she blurted. "It was 4. Winter roads," he answered, brushing damp strands from her brow. "Prince Oberyn slowed us, and 1,000 little things besides. Have you eaten?" Both girls nodded, though Arya's stomach rumbled traitorously. Ned squeezed her shoulder. She leaned into him for a heartbeat before twisting away, suddenly shy of softness. Catelyn ushered them ahead toward the hearth. Ned followed, shrugging out of his soaked cloak. Steam curled. The familiar carved direwolf above the mantel, an old Winterfell piece sent south, met his gaze with wooden eyes. He poured mulled wine that tasted of cloves, and the warmth seeped into bones still cold from Tywin's frosted courtesy. "Tomorrow," Cat said once the girls were abed, "Stannis' outriders may appear at the river's mouth. His sails are black, his heart stone. If he anchors a siege line, your counsel will shatter." "I know." Ned held cup against temple. "I wrote to Stannis before I stood for combat, begging patience. He did not heed me. Davos says his lords burn for justice. Robert usurped with axe and hammer. Stannis shall reclaim with law and iron. Any chance of peace must be hammered now. Cat toyed with her silver hand clasp. By Renly wrote again. He courts Mace Tyrell's strength, but he offers you a seat as hand to his would-be throne. Then? Renly is younger brother, one claim weaker than Stannis. Ned swallowed. Yet his army blossoms in Reach Fields. If the Flower and the Stag join, King's Landing may stand no chance. Cat's eyes, the blue of summer sky over River Run, sharpened. We stand between hammers, Renly to south, Stannis to east, Tywin to west. Your victory bought days, nothing more. Days are all soldiers need to choose fields. Ned sat at the desk littered with Pycelle's copied ledgers. I mean to use them to prove Joffrey's bastardy publicly. Once the High Septon decrees, Lion Claws retract. They cannot claim righteous war for grandson called false. If council accepts Stannis' claim, Tywin may retreat to Rock. Renly may bargain for Stormlands or reach for other honors. Cat's laughter was brittle. You trust claims and parchments in place of pikes? No, he admitted. I trust truth. And if truth fails, the North will not. He touched the pommel of Barristan's sword lying across the desk. But I would bleed my own veins dry before I spill another child's for a throne. They said little more that night, yet sleep eluded them both. Ned paced before shuttered window, listening to bay winds carry faint creak of ships' masts and the harsher clang of smithies forging arrowheads. Down in the cellars alchemists worked by green flame. Their wildfire might soon paint the river a torchlit hell if Joffrey answered Stannis' ships with mad defiance. The King of 13 Years had not spoken 2 words to Ned since the duel. But the lad's sulks worried Ned less than Cersei's serpent smile. She spun whispers. Stannis would burn the city. Stannis loved only rule. Stannis worshipped red demons from Asshai. Fear warped faster than steel. When dawn slipped gray fingers through sill gaps, Ned's eyelids felt gritty as sand, yet his mind wheeled sharp. He summoned Harwin and a half-dozen gray cloaks, ordering them to guard the High Septon's residence. No visitor without Ned's seal. Evidence must reach holy ears untainted. He then sent word to the Guild of Alchemists. All wildfire stores locked. Keys split between Lord Commander Barristan and Master Hallyne under penalty of death. Varys materialized from behind a tapestry as the edict was inked. Such brisk measures, the eunuch murmured. One wonders if wildfire is more dangerous within its jars or within the hands of frightened queens. I would keep it from both, Ned answered. Varys folded his delicate hands. May I offer a new piece for your board? Sir Jafer Flowers, steward to the Night's Watch, arrived outside the mud gate at dawn. He bears tidings from Lord Commander Mormont. Monsters in the frost, bodies that will not rest within graves. He begs you send men north. Ned's shoulders slumped. All the realm's swords point south, yet the true battle waits beyond that wall. I will meet him within the hour. He brushed past Varys, but the eunuch's soft voice followed. Stannis and Renly juggle crowns. The Lannisters hoard gold. And while great lords bicker, shadows grow long. Shadows have claws too, Lord Stark. Ned paused. You speak as though you know those shadows well. I was born in one, Varys whispered. And children born in darkness learn to see what others cannot. The throne room thrummed like a hive when Ned entered for morning council. Cersei sat at the boy king's side, emerald gown sparkling with black diamonds, while Pycelle, Littlefinger, Renly, and Sir Kevan filled benches. Tywin had not yet returned. His heavy absence seemed to lean over the assembly like a phantom lion, waiting to pounce should any voice stray too near treason. Ned took his place at the hand's seat. Barristan stood sentinel to the throne's left, white armor polished and serene. He nodded almost imperceptibly as Ned cast his gaze across the hall. Grand pillars soared overhead, each torch bracket flaring brighter than memory. But Ned's eyes found shadows in the joins, patches where conspirators might lurk. In every footstep, he heard the faint echo of wildfire vials clinking. Joffrey banged a short gilded rod against the arm of the Iron Throne. "Commence," he said in a voice pitched higher than command, yet laden with careful menace. He stared at Ned, and for one heartbeat, Ned saw the boy's shoulders tremble beneath golden velvet. All the monstrous cruelty Joffrey had flaunted seemed built atop precarious fear. Pycelle rose, scroll unrolling like ancient skin. Ships sighted at the mouth of the Blackwater. Sails black, crowned stag sigil. Count estimated at 60 war galleys, a dozen heavy cogs, 10 lantern barges, Stormlord's banners spotted. Florent, Fell, Penrose. Joffrey's knuckles widened. Siege? Not yet, your grace. Pycelle cleared Flynn. They anchor mid-channel. No landing attempts recorded, but spies report siege towers being assembled aboard transports. Cersei's voice lilted like silk over razor wire. Send emissary, daughter. Tell Lord Stannis that his brother sits the throne and shall not yield to traitors. No. Ned countered. Stannis claims legitimacy under law of succession. We must hear his terms before naming him traitor. Cersei smiled. And invite him inside our walls? He would gladly open gates for his soldiers. Then invite his words. Ned pressed. A parley at sea. Neutral ground. Renly kicked boot heel against bench. While we speak. His catapults load. Words solve nothing between brothers with steel drawn. Words weigh more than catapult stones when spoken in faith, Ned replied. Baelish's laugh fluttered like a bird trapped among knives. Faith is a diet for priests. Warlords chew meat. Stannis chews bitterly. Ned ignored him. I propose we send Maester Luwin aboard a neutral ship to deliver message. The High Septon will soon judge legitimacy. If Stannis desires lawful crown, he must allow judgment to proceed. Cersei's green eyes narrowed. And if he refuses, what then? Then we stand blamed not for rushing to steal, but for exhausting peace first. Ned glanced at Barristan, one ally whose honor spoke to the realm. Sir Barristan will escort the maester. Barristan bowed. As the hand commands. Joffrey half stood. I should send Meryn Trant with heads on spikes. Father would. Your father favored boldness, Cersei soothed, pushing him down. But he also favored the strong to let the weak blunder first. Ned bristled. Robert's strength had been generosity, not cunning cruelty. Yet he swallowed anger. War turned even memory to weapon. He nodded to Pycelle. Draft letter. It leaves within the hour. The council dissolved to many small huddles. Renly cornered Ned near the great doors, gold flower clasp glittering. So you throw olive branches while the orchard burns. I use every branch while any fruit remains, Ned said. Renly's smile held charm but not warmth. When the orchard is ash, remember you fed the flames with hope. Maester Luwin and Sir Barristan embarked upon the River Maiden, a slow-bellied cog painted stark gray above waterline, white below. Ned stood upon the mud-gate battlements, watching oars dip steady rhythm. Rain had ceased, leaving haze that clung to water like shroud. Far downriver, black sails pricked horizon. The River Maiden vanished into that line like gull disappearing into storm cloud. Arya appeared, perched on parapet stone no fear of height could curb. Her short hair spiked from sea spray. A new wooden practice blade, Sirio's gift, hung at hip. She followed his gaze. Father, she asked, will Stannis burn us? Not while I breathe. She frowned. You breathe, but men still die. He placed an arm around her shoulders. Men die so others might live. My task is to choose which lives. Men now. Choose ours, Arya murmured, leaning into him surprising softness. He kissed her hair. Below, fishermen barges maneuvered, nets hung like torn banners. Ned studied the play of currents. He saw how narrow the channel would be for warships. One galleass anchored just right could choke the river, catch torch rafts in flaming nets. Too many deaths would come under night's cloak. He called for Master Shipwright Valerian Celtigar to meet him. The man's thin mustache wagged with talk of tide and chain booms. If wildfire must ignite, better to direct it away from the city. 2 days later, the River Maiden returned, tattered banners drooping. Luwin shambled onto dock, white as salt. Barristan disembarked slower than usual. They reported under hush in Ned's solar. Lord Stannis will not treat. Lewin rasped. He named Joffrey abomination. Cersei whore, you false hand-propping snake's brood. Then he means war, Ned said. Barristan nodded. He offered us safe return only to convey a final missive. Surrender the throne or Blackwater runs red. He invoked the Lord of Light, swore the red comet last year was omen of Baratheon victory. Men know. Ned paced. He has priests from Ashai with him? A red woman, Lewin said. Eyes like glowing coals. Cat entered mid-meeting, a letter in hand. From Renly, she said, voice brittle. He marches from Highgarden with a host thrice Stannis number. She read aloud, join me, Lord Stark. Seat me rightfully, and the realm shall know peace. Cat folded parchment, offered it to Ned. His host will reach Storm's End within fortnight. 2 Baratheon brothers will strangle each other beneath our walls. No. Ned absorbed the tidings like hammer blows. We must call banners south, he said. But not to fight, to stand between. Cat raised brow. Between 2 storms? Wolves, guard passes. He turned to Barristan. Send riders north. Summon Lord Karstark's outriders, Lord Glover's archers. Ask Robb for 5,000 horse. They ride to the Trident and camp at Ruby Ford. No further. Cat touched his arm. Robb may not stay idle while his father faces war. He must, or the north bleeds too deep to survive winter. Ned's voice cracked. Tell him his father commands. He wrote raven after raven. To Holster Tully for river patrols. To Edmure to guard Harrenhal from reavers. To John Aaron's widow Lysa, pleading the Vale send grain if not men. He sealed each with dire wolfshed of Winterfell, wax cooling like blood. Night deepened. Ned patrolled the godswood paths, torch casting branching shadows. In the heart beneath Weirwood Face he found John Aaron's bastard son, young Gendry, polishing a helm. The boy had followed Arya north from brothel cellars, landing in Ned's care by chance of steel. Ned watched him, recognizing Robert's broad back and black hair. You could leave, Ned observed. No chains hold you. Gendry glanced up. Gold cloaks would. They want me for forging without guild mark. He resumed Polish. Here I eat. Sleep. Swing hammer. Good enough. Ned knelt in moss. The war to come will judge bastards and kings alike. You may claim more than hammer if you choose. Then? Gendry shrugged. I make what people need. War needs steel. He set helm aside. A simple design. No crest, yet lines sturdy. Could make 100 of these if iron scored. Ned studied him, reminded how Robert once swung a hammer, forging destinies. Perhaps you will make one for a king born while others fall, he mused. Gendry snorted softly. Kings look prettier than me. Not all, Ned said smiling. 3 nights later. Thunder rattled shutters. Ned woke to pounding at door. Sir Alan hurried in. Face ashen. Lord Hand, the High Septon, is dead. Strangled in his bedchamber. Benderamo. Ned sat. Sudden chill. How? Mark of chain at throat. Door guards drugged. No sign of intruder. Ned's mind spun. Without the Septon, the scheduled hearing of Joffrey's bloodlines fell to ruin. Cersei would appoint a pliant successor. Tywin's gold-greased synod votes. He dressed quickly and strode to the sept of Baelor under escort. Rain hammered marble steps. Statues of saints wept black tears. Inside, the septon's body lay upon veined stone pale as moonlit snow. Tongue protruding blue. Hands folded as though in prayer, though each nail cracked where he had clawed for breath. Pycelle tottered forward. Assassins of Stannis, surely. His red witch curses us. Renly argued. Lannister gold pays quicker than Eastern spells. They almost fell to blows before Ned roared them silent. He crouched near corpse, noting faint bruise on wrists as though bound first. A message. He found sliver of ivory clasp in crumpled robe, too fine for mendicant killers. Etched lion's paw. His gut. Soured. "Have the Silent Sisters take him," he ordered. Council convenes at midday. When Circe arrived, she wore violet mourning veil too swiftly prepared. Ned laid the clasp before her. "Your Grace, explain." She regarded it coolly. "My sigil sprouts across half the realm uttered. Lions shed claws readily lost." "Claws tear," Ned said. Tywin returned sometime past midnight, came forward. "You accuse my house. Provide proof beyond trinket found in bedchamber already soiled by murder." Ned met his gaze. "I provide opportunity. That Tywin benefits. That Cersei's child remains upon throne uncontested without trial." Tywin's nostrils flared. "I benefit in many roads. Some paved in blood. Some in word. Yet I do not choose the path of charlatan stranglers. My work is open war." "War you cannot launch while Stannis anchors," Ned said. Cersei interjected. "So you blame us for removing an obstacle to peace?" "The septon would have sowed chaos. His death spares small folk despair of uncertain crowns." Ned's temper flared. "Truth is no despair." Her smile was winter chill. "Truth is a blade no scabbard can hold." She quoted his own words from weeks past. "Thus it cuts." Council dissolved into argument. Pycelle beseeched them to elect new septon at once. Littlefinger offered to handle discreet donations to expedite selection. Ned slammed fist. "No coin shall buy the gods." He left before anger birthed folly. Hours blurred. Reports of riot near Flea Bottom. Bread store looted after rumor grain wagons diverted north. Ned deployed gray cloaks with carts of barley and honey cake. He rode among the throng, tossing loaves until curses melted into shouts of gratitude. Children cheered the wolf banner. Men bowed. Women reached to touch his cloak for luck. But sparks of rage still smoldered. Voices cried, "Kill the queen," and drown the priest. Fear bred monsters in mud died away. Returning over Visenya's hill, Ned saw smoke from Dragon Pit. Orange glow licked broken dome. He spurred forward. Inside, a dozen blackened corpses ringed a shattered crate of wildfire. Alchemists sobbed. They had been testing fuses when hooded men stormed in, slashed throats and smashed jars. Fire had caught only one, yet flames had roasted men alive before dying from lack of lie. Among the dead lay a black coin. Ned felt weight of unseen puppeteer tightening strings. He thought of Varys' smile, of coins minted in Bravos, of Red Woman's prophecy. He ordered the pit sealed, its stores relocated to cellars beneath Sept, holy stone thickest in city. That night he confronted Varys in the gloom of a forgotten stair. The eunuch emerged as though conjured from mortar. "Lord Hand is troubled," Varys said. "You move pieces faster than my eyes," Ned growled. "Your coins mark bodies wherever fear best serves. To what end?" Varys' sigh was wind through tomb. "To realm's salvation. Ain day. Chaos, my lord, is ladder to tyranny. I spread just enough to reveal tyranny's teeth." He steepled fingers. "Stannis will burn city. Cersei will strangle it. Renly will drown it in fertile pleasure." Ned's sword whispered half-drawn. "Who?" "You," Varys said simply. "The Northman who loathes intrigue, who bleeds for small folk and speaks plain. The realm trusts you. When war tears down kings, someone must quell ruin." Ned shoved steel back into sheath lest he do violence. "I seek no crown." "Exactly," Varys breathed. "That is why you must wear one." Ned turned away. "I will not trade one war for another." Boots echoed as he climbed. Varys' voice followed, soft. "Wars find men whether they seek them or not." 2 dawns later, horns brayed from the river. Ned and half the council gathered on battlements to watch black sails advance. Stannis' fleet arrayed across the width of the channel like iron teeth, sewn through silk water. Ziga towers bristled upon barge decks. Catapults crouched. The sun climbed behind tangled masts, casting spears of gold across storm-gray canvas. Yet on the southern horizon, new banners flowered. Green field, golden roses swirling. Renly's host, March camped along the Roserad, campfires dotting hills like scattered stars. Tyrell pavilions rose, saffron and cream. Florent and Tarley knights scouted along outcrop ridges. Thunder of hooves drifted faint as pulse. Between them, King's Landing sat like grain kernel between millstones. Ned called emergency council. In the tower of the hands-round room, arguments erupted. Cersei wanted wildfire-laden ships to break Stannis. Pycelle fretted flame might drift on wind to city walls. Renly demanded gates open for his rightful rule. Tywin insisted Lannister army outside Harrenhal could flank Renly if given leave to cross river. Ned slammed palm on table. Enough. I propose summit. One day hence upon the Traitors' Walk, a neutral spit of land beyond city. Stannis, Renly, Joffrey's envoys, riverlords, reach lords, Dornish if they wish. Knights of the King's Guard and I Northmen only as guard. We talk until peace emerges or the gods themselves weep. Cersei laughed. They will slay each other before first cup of wine. Then better they do so outside city than upon its stones, Ned said. Renly smirked. I accept. I fear no talk. Sir Kevin nodded slowly. I will counsel Lord Tywin to attend. Pycelle rubbed beard. Summit of swords indeed. Thus ravens flew once more. Ned wrote until fingers cramped, invitations sealed with direwolf, stag, rose, sun and spear. Fish. Each letter begged parley under God's eyes. Each promised safe return upon Ned Stark's honor. That night Ned spoke alone with Joffrey in a summer tree veranda, overlooking moonlit gardens. The boy sat stiff, the crown heavy on unsteady brow. You want me to give up my throne, Joffrey said bitterly. I want you to keep your life. Ned knelt to meet the petulant stare. Great men contest births they cannot prove wrong by blade alone. Let gods decide. Joffrey's lips curled. Gods favor the bold. They favor the just. Ned's softened voice. If truth proves you rightful, I will bend knee and ask the North to do likewise. And if truth proves me bastard, then live knightly. Let realm remember you as prince, who valued justice over pride. Damn. The boy studied his own reflection in silver goblet. For a heartbeat, Ned glimpsed child beneath cruelty. A child taught by mother to fear weakness. Joffrey whispered, Mother will flay me if I yield. Your mother stands in shadow of her father. Ned placed hand on the boy's shoulder. But you are Robert's son in ways that matter. Courage, stubbornness. Show courage now. Joffrey's gaze darted away. We'll see, he muttered. Morning of summit dawn brittle clear. Frost rhymed penance, though midsummer neared. Ned dressed in gray leather under ringmail, direwolf cloak across shoulders. Around his temples he tied simple wolf-head silver circlet. The Stark honor piece, not crown yet weighty statement. Catelyn fastened it. Her hands lingered before she spoke. I dreamed of Bran last night, she said. He was running through snowdrifts higher than towers. He told me the white shadows howled his name. Ned kissed her knuckles. Dreams speak half-truths. White shadows howl for many. She nodded, tears unshed. Come home to us. He promised, though a voice inside whispered that if he failed, home would be ashes blown upon northern gale. He rode out with 20 gray cloaks and 6 Kingsguard, including Barristan and a stiff Sandor still healing. On the Traitors' Walk, a bare spit between river and fields, they erected a round tent of white canvas. Within they laid an 8-sided table, each side painted with one sigil. Crowned stag, fiery hart, golden rose, lion, direwolf, trout, sun and spear, and blank 8 for any yet unclaimed fate. Stannis arrived first, crimson cloak pinned with fiery heart of Orlor. His jaw looked chiseled from quartz. Eyes burned blue frost. Beside him walked Davos Seaworth, hood lowered. A woman followed, a red priestess with hair dark as blood, amber eyes aglow. Ned felt her gaze pass over him like brand. She smiled faint, as if greeting old promise. Renly rode next, shining in green armor wreathed with overlapping golden roses. Loras Tyrell flanked him, helm carved into stag antler crown. Sir's beauty looked wrought of sunlight. Behind streamed row of Tyrell knights, banners snapping. Tywin Lannister appeared with modest escort, crimson cloak trimmed with manticore fur. Sir Kevin, Sir Adam Marbrand, and Lord Giles Rosby rode with him. No Cersei. Ned wondered if she refused to step beneath sky not of her choosing. Riverlords Edmure Tully and Lord Blackwood represented the Trident. From Dorne came Oberyn Martell, spear-capped in copper, along with dour brother Doran carried in wheeled litter. Even Prince Doran, gout-stricken, came to watch vengeance unfold. No one trusted anyone, yet all gathered, as though drawn by gravity of history forging. Inside tent, silence lingered, while men took seats corresponding to painted sigils. Ned remained standing. "Thank you," he said, "for risking blades for words. We stand before abyss. Every child in King's Landing, every farmer beneath your banners, waits on what we decide this day." Stannis snorted. "There is naught to decide. Law names me king. Kneel and end this farce." Renly laughed. "Law names many things. It once named dragons overlords. They burned." Stannis' hand clenched pommel. "You mock ancestral right. I will flense your roses." Tywin spread hands. "Brothers quarrel. Realm suffers. Let the High Septon choose, when one is elected anew." Ned faced him. "Election shall not be auction. We agree to impartial synod." Tywin's smile was blade thin. "Impartiality costs. Then realm will pay in gold, not blood." Renly said gaily, flipping coin. "I'll ransom the slots." Stannis slammed fist. "You buy scripture while small folk starve." Oberyn's laughter cut icy. "Men starve while Elias' children rot in graves, yet Lannisters dine. Crown is bulbul to amuse crows." Tywin's golden eyes chilled further. "Speak lightly of my house again, Prince, and your spear will adorn my hall as toothpick." The red priestess glided forward, voice soft and unsettling. "The night is dark and full of terrors. Light must reign. My king bears light. Others are shadows cast by his flame." Renly gave melodramatic shiver. "Fire me once, lady. I prefer sunlight and laughter." Ned raised palms. "Enough. I present proof of Joffrey's bastardy. Genealogies, testimonies of blacksmith's bastards, fathered by Robert Wondrous Strong. Seeds planted constant. Not one golden hair among them." He placed scrolls. "I ask each lord to study before drawing sword." He delivered duplicates to each stand. Stannis scanned, nodding grim. Renly skimmed, sipping wine. Tywin read without flicker. Oberyn ignored text, eyeing Tywin. Davos cleared throat. "If proof stands, law of succession makes Lord Stannis rightful." "Laws bend like reed," Tywin said. "Realm needs peace, not pedantry." "Peace built on lies," Ned responded. "Shatters at first storm." Renly leaned forward. "Then, a compromise. Marry Joffrey to my daughter by Margaery Tyrell, future queen born of two houses. Stannis receives Dragonstone and Storms, and both, plus the Admiralty of the Narrow Sea." Stannis' face twisted. "I will not trade right for titles." Renly shrugged. "Then you shall have war, and I, the throne, once your army lies gutted on Rose Road." Tywin's chuckle grated. "My lions may tip that scale." Doran Martell's thin voice drifted. "Dorne will stand with the prince who gives justice for Elia." He looked to Ned. "You promise judgment, Lord Stark." Ned exhaled. "I do, but not by sword. Let the High Septon successor preside over tribunal deciding crimes of sack of King's Landing, blood of Elia, blood of children. Witnesses shall speak under holy light." "Desmao." Oberyn's knuckles whitened on spear. "And if tribunal absolves lions, we swallow stone for supper?" Ned's voice hardened. If tribunal absolves, then truth sets you free of vengeance, else you become the monster you hunt. Silence pooled. Wind rattled canvas. Loras Tyrell whispered into Renly's ear. Renly sighed dramatically. Very well. We accept tribunal, provided it convenes within 1 moon turn, and each faction chooses equal number of judges from the most devout. Stannis? Menmersamo. Stannis brooded. The Red Woman laid hand on his arm. Flames danced inside her pupils. Stannis' nostrils flared. At last he spoke. 1 moon turn. Judges sworn to burn in Roller's light if they take bribe. Pycelle, present as scribe, sputtered but wrote. Tywin considered. Lions accept. If tribunal occurs in Old Baylor's sept under city watch, sworn to my son-in-law's command. Ned shook head. Under joint command. Kingsguard and my grey cloaks share walls. Then? Finally, tacit agreement formed. They signed parchment, each wax seal pressed. Yet once quills stilled, tension remained thick as drawn bowstring. Renly toasted to 1 moon of mirth before swords, and Stannis stalked out without response. Tywin rolled up document, eyes glinting with future stratagems. Ned remained last inside tent, alone with Red Woman who lingered uninvited. She studied him. I see snow in your veins, she murmured. Cold that opposes my king's flame. Yet snow can douse fire, even while melting. She laid palm on table. Wood hissed and smoked, though no ember touched it. Beware, Stark. When shadows walk, even wolves may freeze. He met her stare. Winter thickens skin. Fire may find little purchase. Melisandre of Ashai smiled slowly, as if hearing moss speak prophecy. Then she turned and vanished into sunlit glare outside. Ned smelled faint scent of cinnamon and ash. The city exhaled tentative relief. Joffrey sulked but obeyed. Cersei feigned victory, 1 moon to marshal allies. She whispered to Pycelle within earshot of Ned. Taverns served parley stew at half price. Bards sang of a wolf who humbled lions and stags alike. But across river, 2 armies sharpened blades under banners, laundered for next blood. Ned spent the days forging alliances beyond swords. He met with guild of smiths, granting tax relief if they produced plows as well as spears. He visited orphanages, promising grain deliveries. The cheers followed him like faith seed. He hosted R'hllor priests and faith militant both, urging sermons of patience. He wrote Robb. Hold Ruby Ford. Send no arrow unless fired upon. Winterfell must endure. He wrote to Jon at the wall, though ravens seldom flew that far. Tell Mormont the realm stirs. I will send men when I may. In quiet hours he taught Arya water dance footwork, though Cat harangued him not to encourage more bruises. He walked gardens with Sansa. Speaking of Winterfell flowers that bloomed even in snow. She listened, eyes hungry for home. Sometimes he closed his eyes and pictured Bran dreaming with wolves, Rickon chasing shaggy dog, Winterfell's hot pools steaming beneath green leaves. He missed the North's clean chill more than ever. 8 days before tribunal, Maester Luwin burst into Solar. Lord Hand, Blackwater anchored with Selsail fleet, flying 3 crowned stags. Ned frowned. 3? Golden antlers, azure field, Sea Lord of Bravos insignia combined with Baratheon. Reports claim 30 Pentoshi galleys. Selsails joining Stannis. Ned rubbed forehead. Stannis buying foreign swords undermines his claim of lawful righteousness. Bay siege lines doubled overnight. Granite keel Bravo Z galleys formed outer crescent beyond Stormlander hulls. Inside city, panic returned like infection. Ned summoned council to discuss, but Tywin declared not breach of summit terms. Renly argued Stannis numbers, still dwarfed by Tyrell might. Cersei plotted preemptive wildfire strike. Ned vetoed. We hold the date. Tribunal first. Let the gods judge, then men may choose. Pycelle warned prophecy of new High Septon election delayed by quarrels over bribes. Ned stormed into Septarium, confronted most devout. He threatened to post gray cloaks at their doors with orders to starve them until white smoke rose. Election occurred next dawn. Septan Thoros, once poet of the Reach, moderate and unbought. 3 nights before tribunal, Ravenscar Tower caught fire. Flames licked stone 70 feet high. Charred body of scribe who copied genealogies found among embers. Coin again. Tywin feigned outrage. Cersei feigned innocence. Ned doubled guard on archives. He placed copies in Ironbank Vault via Lysine courier. One day before tribunal, Davos smuggled letter to Ned. Red Priestess birthed shadow on Storm's End shore. A maester there saw black smoke taking form of man. Maester died breathless next morn. Davos feared sorcery would strike again. Ned shivered. He ordered Barristan to quadruple watch around sleeping chambers of every child inside castle. The tribunal day dawned under sky the color of fresh-drawn milk. Streets silent, as though city itself held breath. Bells tolled from Sept of Baelor, summoning lords. Inside, rows of marble pews filled with watchers. Small folk granted entry by lottery. Nobles arrayed by house. Silent sisters along walls. 7 judges took dais. 3 chosen by Stannis, 3 by Renly. 1 neutral by Ned's insistence. Septan Thoros himself. Ned sat at council table beside Barristan and Luwin. Tywin represented Joffrey. Renly argued his own case. Stannis leaned on law books heavier than steel. Proceedings commenced with prayer. Then genealogist Maester Pylos testified. Hair color inheritance, chart of Baratheon black versus Lannister gold. He spoke calm. Tywin's cross-examination attempted to cast doubt on recessive traits, yet scrolls displayed ratio beyond chance. Gasps echoed. Blacksmith Tabo Mott testified of boy Gendry's parentage, showing helm with stag horns Robert had ordered. Gendry stood stoic, glaring. Stannis' counsel used proof. Tywin claimed rumor. Witness after witness. Midwives with memories of Robert's black hair. Lannister cousins testifying of Cersei's closeness with Jaime. Even Pycelle forced to admit he once delivered moon tea to Queen's maid, on request. Audience murmur grew, tide shifting. At midday recess, Cersei strode across nave, face white, whispering to Tywin. He stalked from sept, crimson cloak snapping. Barristan shadowed him, returning to whisper in Ned's ear. Lannisters ride to armory. Ned caught Thoros. Close doors. Allow no one to exit but judges. Massive oak doors barred with iron. Afternoon session turned to final testimony. Jaime Lannister himself, shackled but cloaked in white of Kingsguard. He admitted to incest in thin voice, mocking yet resigned. I loved my sister, and she me. Joffrey is mine. Gasps soared like ravens. Ned felt a stone loosen inside his chest. Truth, finally bared. Tywin's roar hammered doors outside, demand to enter. Inside, judges conferred. Verdict. Joffrey Myrcella, Tommen declared illegitimate. Throne vacant. Law named Stannis as Robert's heir. When Thoros announced result, pandemonium erupted. Renly shouted protest. Tyrell Bannerman drew steel. Stannis rose, sword unsheathed, proclaiming himself king. Cersei, inside pew among ladies, screamed for Joffrey's guards. Ned leapt onto dais, arms raised. By gods and law, Stannis is king, yet peace must sign before swords cross. Tywin pounded door. At Ned's signal, Barristan unbarred. Tywin entered with 500 gold cloaks, blades drawn. Across nave, Stannis stormlords unsheathed. Renly's reach knights lowered lances. The sept became powder keg. Cersei reached Joffrey, standing weeping near altar. She clutched him, backing toward side door. Ned moved to intercept, but Tywin's men blocked. Stand aside. Ned commanded. Tribunal has ruled. Tywin's voice boomed. I recognize no kangaroo court held under wolf's paw. My grandson remains king. Steel scraped stone. Battle lines formed among pews. Ned's heart hammered. He saw Sansa among sept attendants. Eyes round. Arya clung to Septa. In that instant, he realized talk had ended. Only action could salvage lives. He raised Barristan's sword high and shouted, Voice echoing under domed ceiling. Who will stand for realm, not claim? Silence split. Then from common benches a lone figure stood. Davos Seaworth, weathered face earnest. This I will, he said. Others followed. Lord Blackwood, Septan Thoros. Even Loras Tyrell stepped between Renly and Stannis, blade reversed, pleading eyes at both. More peasants rose, forming human barrier. Ned advanced, sword lowered. Lord Tywin, recall your vow in my tent. Tribunal stands. Let city avoid slaughter. Tywin's jaw worked. He saw hundreds of small folk blocking. He saw Dornish spears, reach knights unsure, stormlords ready, his gold cloaks few inside massive sept. Calculation ruled Lannister blood. He sheathed. We withdraw. For now do. Cersei shrieked, but Tywin's glare silenced her. Gold cloaks escorted them out. Renly watched Stannis as predator regards rival, yet he bowed stiffly. My brother wears crown now, but flower of storm still blooms. He left. Stannis turned to Ned. You saved my city, he said grudgingly. Kneel to tea. Ned did. The weight of cloak near crushed him. I swore if law crowned you, I would bow. Stannis tapped shoulder with sword Lightbringer. Rise, Lord Protector of the realm. He glanced about. We have much mending. Wolves and stags share road now. Outside bells tolled again, this time in uncertain peals. The realm had a new king, but not yet peace. Renly rode with Tyrell roses. Tywin stalked to Casterly Rock for vengeance, and beyond the wall, cold winds gathered hosts unseen. Yet that night, in Ned's chambers, Catelyn held him, and Sansa sang lullaby to Arya under direwolf quilt, and inside Ned's weary heart flickered ember of hope. Small, perhaps doomed to embers again, but living still. And sometimes, he knew, a single ember could outlast all the roaring fires set by men, until dawn found the ashes cold and mourning, asked what new world would grow from them.